The allergist stopped mid-test, looked at my back, and called security. 20 minutes later, two men in suits were asking me about a medical trial I'd never heard of, and my doctor was white as a sheet, refusing to make eye contact. They wanted to know how I got exposed to compound R7, a synthetic polymer that shouldn't exist outside a classified government facility. I had no idea what they were talking about, but the welt growing on my back was proof that somehow something from a sealed lab had gotten into my bloodstream, and they weren't leaving until I told them how. To understand why I ended up in an interrogation room with federal agents, you need to go back to when my allergies started spiraling out of control. I've had allergies my whole life. Pollen, dust, shellfish, the usual suspects. I carried an EpiPen everywhere. But last month, something changed. My throat started swelling randomly. Not after eating or going outside, just randomly. Once while I was sleeping, once in the shower, once while sitting at my desk doing absolutely nothing. My doctor referred me to Dr. Patel, an allergist, for a full panel test. They'd test me for everything and figure out what was triggering the reactions. I showed up on a Tuesday morning. The nurse sat me down and explained the process. They'd prick my back with dozens of tiny needles, each one containing a different allergen. Then they'd wait 20 minutes to see which ones caused a reaction. She started marking my back with a pen, numbering each spot. "This will itch," she warned. "Try not to scratch." I nodded and pulled out my phone. 5 minutes in, the itching started. Normal at first. Then it got worse. Way worse. My entire back felt like it was on fire. The nurse walked back in, glanced at my back, and her face went white. "Dr. Patel," she called out. "Now." Dr. Patel came rushing in. He looked at my back, then at the nurse. "Which one is this?" She checked her chart. "All of them. Every single marker is reacting." They turned me around so I could see in the mirror. My back looked like I'd been attacked by bees. Massive welts everywhere, red and swollen. Dr. Patel grabbed his chart and started reading through the allergens out loud. Pollen, dust, mold, cat dander, peanuts. Then he stopped mid-sentence. He leaned in closer to one specific welt. It was bigger than all the others, raised almost half an inch off my skin and spreading fast. "What marker is that?" he asked. The nurse checked her list. "That's the control." Dr. Patel froze. "The saline control?" "Yes." He looked at me like I was a science experiment gone wrong. "You're reacting to salt water. Is that bad?" I asked. "Salt water is inert," he said. "It doesn't cause allergic reactions. That's why it's the control. It's supposed to do nothing." My back was doing the opposite of nothing. The welt kept growing. Now it was the size of a baseball. Dr. Patel stepped into the hallway and made a phone call. I heard him talking fast, using words I didn't understand. The nurse stayed with me, watching the welt like it might explode. "Am I dying?" "No," she said, but she didn't sound sure. Dr. Patel came back with another doctor, older, maybe 60, with glasses and a serious face. "I'm Dr. Brennan. I specialize in rare immunological conditions." He looked at my back. "When did this start?" "A month ago. Random swelling. Throat, hands, face. No pattern." "Any new medications? New foods? Environmental changes?" "Nothing. I even switched to hypoallergenic everything." Dr. Brennan pulled out a pen light and examined the welt closely. Then he scraped a tiny bit of fluid off the surface and put it on a glass slide. "I need to run this under a microscope." 15 minutes later, he came back. His face was completely blank. "You're reacting to something that doesn't exist in nature." I blinked. "What does that mean?" "The fluid from your reaction contains antibodies attacking a synthetic compound. Something man-made." "Like what? Plastic? Chemicals?" "No, this is different. It is a polymer structure I've only seen once before in a classified medical trial from 8 years ago." My stomach dropped. "Classified?" Dr. Brennan sat down. "Have you ever participated in any medical studies? Clinical trials? Experimental treatments?" "No, never." "Are you sure? Because this compound R7, it was developed by a private biotech firm under government contract. It was designed as a drug delivery mechanism, injectable nanoparticles that could target specific cells. The trial was shut down after 6 months. All the participants were supposed to be monitored for life." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. "I've never been in any trial." Dr. Brennan pulled out his phone. "I need to make a call. Don't leave this room." He walked out. Dr. Patel stayed with me, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. "What's going on?" I asked. He didn't answer. 20 minutes later, two men in suits walked in. They weren't doctors. They showed me badges. Department of Health and Human Services, one of them said. "We need to ask you some questions." They took me to a private room. No windows, just a table and 3 chairs. One of them sat across from me. The other stood by the door. The one sitting pulled out a folder. "Your name came up in our system," he said. "Your blood work from today triggered an alert. You're showing exposure to a controlled substance." I told you. I've never been in any trial. He opened the folder and slid a photo across the table. It was a list of names. "Do you recognize any of these people?" I scanned the list. My hands started shaking. The third name down was my college roommate, Jessica. "Jessica Moore," the man said. "You knew her?" "We were roommates. Freshman year. We lost touch after college." He pulled out another photo. Jessica at a medical facility, sitting in a chair with N4 in her arm. She participated in the trial. So did 19 other people. All college students. All recruited through a campus health clinic in 2016. "I wasn't recruited for anything," I said. He leaned forward. "Then how did you get exposed?" "I don't know." His partner by the door spoke up. "Have you had any contact with Jessica in the past 2 months?" "No, I haven't talked to her in years." The man at the table tapped the photo. "Jessica Moore died 3 weeks ago." My blood went cold. "What?" "Allergic reaction. Throat swelling. Just like yours." She was the 4th participant to die this year. All of them showed the same symptoms. Random anaphylaxis. No clear trigger. I felt like the room was tilting. Why is this happening now? The trial was 8 years ago. He closed the folder. "We don't know. That's why we need your help. If you weren't in the trial, someone exposed you. Either accidentally or intentionally. We need to figure out who." I thought back over the past month. Work, home, grocery store. Nothing unusual. Then I remembered something. Jessica sent me a package. The man sat up straight. "When?" "About 6 weeks ago. Out of the blue. We hadn't talked in years, and suddenly she sends me this box." "What was in it?" "Skincare products." She said she was working for a cosmetics company and wanted me to try their new line. Face cream, body lotion, serum. All natural, she said. Organic ingredients. The two men looked at each other. "Do you still have the products?" "Yeah, at home. We need them. Now." They drove me to my apartment. I pulled the box out from under my bathroom sink. The man put on gloves and carefully placed each bottle into an evidence bag. "This might be how she was trying to warn you," he said. "What do you mean?" "If she knew something was wrong, if she knew the trial had contaminated her, she might have sent you the products to create a trail, to make sure someone would investigate." "But why not just call me? Tell me directly?" He looked at me. "Because she was being watched. Everyone from the trial has been under surveillance since it shut down. If she contacted you directly, they'd know. But a package from a cosmetics company? That's just normal." "Who's they?" I asked. He didn't answer. "We're going to test these products. In the meantime, you need to stop using anything that came from that box. And if anyone contacts you asking about Jessica or the trial, you call me immediately." He handed me a card. I spent the next week waiting. They told me not to leave town, not to talk to anyone about what happened. I stopped going to work. I stopped answering my phone. I just sat in my apartment, staring at the welt on my back that refused to go away. Then the man called. The products were contaminated. Deliberately. Someone had mixed compound R7 into the lotion. Microscopic amounts, but enough to trigger an immune response over time. "Jessica wasn't trying to warn you. She was trying to kill you." "What? Why would she do that?" He paused. "Because she thought you were part of it." "Part of what?" "The trial wasn't voluntary. The students were told they were getting a flu vaccine. They had no idea they were being injected with an experimental compound. When Jessica found out 2 years ago, she tried to sue. The case was sealed. She lost everything. Her job, her reputation. She spent the last 2 years trying to prove what happened to her. And she thought I was involved? Your name came up in her research. You worked part-time at the campus health clinic during freshman year. You checked students in for appointments. She thought you knew, that you helped recruit them." "I didn't know anything," I said. My voice was shaking. "I was just checking people in. I had no idea what was happening in those rooms." "I know that now," he said. "But Jessica didn't. She died thinking you were part of the cover-up, and she wanted you to suffer the way she did." I hung up. I sat on the floor of my bathroom and cried, not because I was scared, but because Jessica had spent her last weeks hating me for something I didn't do. Because 19 other people were dead or dying. Because I'd worked at that clinic and never asked questions. The lawsuit is moving forward now. The evidence from the contaminated products gave the families what they needed. The biotech firm is being investigated. The people who ran the trial are facing criminal charges. And I'm testifying, not because I want revenge, but because Jessica deserved to know the truth. And so do the 18 other families still waiting for answers. I learned something from all of this. Sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones we never think to question. I checked students in for flu shots and never wondered why they needed so much paperwork. Jessica got a free vaccine and never asked what was really in the syringe. We were both just trying to get through college, and that's exactly what they were counting on.